BBC News, hello, I'm Gareth Barlow. President Biden has authorised an additional $800 million worth of military aid for Ukraine as it prepares to face a renewed Russian offensive in the east. After talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky, Mr. Biden said the United States would continue to provide Ukraine with the means to defend itself. John Sudworth has more details.
President Biden said that the weaponry supplied so far had helped ensure the failure of Russia's initial war aims, but that now was not the time to rest. The package includes additional supplies of weapons systems already provided, including helicopters, and what Mr. Biden called new capabilities, such as artillery systems and armoured personnel carriers designed specifically, he said, to help Ukrainian forces resist Russia's expected escalation in the east.
The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court on a visit to Ukraine has described the country as a crime scene. Karim Khan was speaking in Bucha, a town outside Kiev, where Russian troops killed hundreds of civilians. He said investigators and forensic teams were gathering evidence.
If there are crimes, judges have to decide whether or not warrants or summonses should be issued, but we need to go step by step. And this is part of that. We have a team also. They're not here because of the cameras. Forensic scientists, forensic anthropologists, analysts, investigators and lawyers, so that we can really make sure we separate truth from fiction and go forward to insist on the right of every individual, every child, every woman and every man to have their lives protected and not wantonly targeted.
The Polish President Andrzej Duda, who also visited Kiev, said the Russian commanders who gave the orders should be brought to justice, as well as the soldiers who killed. Russia has dismissed the evidence of atrocities as fake. Officials in South Africa have declared a state of disaster after floods in the eastern province of KwaZulu-Natal. More than 300 people are now known to have died. Search teams are looking for scores of people still missing. Hundreds have been made homeless. Further rain is forecast. President Cyril Ramaphosa said the floods were a catastrophe. Visiting some of the worst-hit areas, he promised more government help. He also blamed climate change for the intense rainfall. Opposition activists in Saudi Arabia say a number of senior judges have been arrested. There's been no official confirmation, but activists from the Dawn Human Rights Group say they include 3 judges from the kingdom's highest court who are being charged with treason. The BBC's Sebastian Usher has this report.
If confirmed, this appears to be a big move against the judiciary by the Saudi authorities. It's unclear why the authorities would have made such a move against the judiciary now. Traditionally, Saudi judges are specialists in and enforce Islamic law known as Sharia, but also follow closely the dictates of the country's rulers.
You're listening to the latest world news from the BBC. The Russian Defense Ministry says the flagship of the Black Sea Fleet has been badly damaged by a fire and explosion. It said the crew of the missile cruiser Moscow had been evacuated and the cause of the fire was being investigated. The Moscow gained notoriety early in the war when Ukrainian border guards defending an island refused its demand for their surrender. Police in New York have arrested a suspect wanted in a shooting at a subway station in Brooklyn on Tuesday. 10 people were injured when the gunman fired 33 rounds from a semi-automatic handgun. An FBI official said the suspect, Frank James, would now face a federal charge for a terrorist attack on mass transit. The British Home Secretary, Priti Patel, is in Rwanda to sign a deal that will offshore some of the UK's asylum processing to the African country. Her government has been under mounting pressure to do something about the thousands of people arriving in southern England, mainly from France. Charities have slammed the move as cruel and nasty. Critics point to Rwanda's poor human rights record. Mark Easton has more details.
Exasperated by record numbers of asylum seekers crossing the channel in small boats, Priti Patel will today sign what's called a migration and development partnership with the government in Rwanda. Single men who arrive on the Kent coast to claim asylum could be forcibly removed to have their claims processed in Central Africa. The Home Secretary describes those who arrive in the UK by unofficial routes as illegal migrants, even though 2/3 go on to be granted refugee status by the Home Office.
The Oscar-winning American actor Cuba Gooding Jr. has pleaded guilty to forcibly touching a New York City waitress 4 years ago. He also admitted touching 2 other women without their consent. The admissions are part of a plea deal in a criminal case in which Mr. Gooding is accused of inappropriately touching women at a Manhattan nightclub. BBC News.